Hi guys, in this video we're going to learn how to graph a quadratic function. Before we start, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click the bell button to turn on notifications, because more incredible content is on its way. Okay, let's get started. As we already learned, the graph of the quadratic function f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a doesn't equal to 0, is a U-shaped curve called a parabola. It always has a vertex value of negative b over 2a, c minus b squared over 4a. The parabola is symmetric, and its line of symmetry is the vertical line x equals negative b over 2a. If you're not familiar with this concept, please check out the links in the description to learn more. Now let's check out how to graph a quadratic function. Theoretically, we just need 3 points to determine the parabola. But if we want to graph it more precisely, it's better to find 5 points on the curve. First, the vertex point, then the y-intersection, and its symmetric point on the parabola. Lastly, we need the two x-intersections on the parabola, if they exist. Let's try to graph a quadratic function together, so you can have a better understanding. Y equals x squared minus 8x plus 7. Here, a is greater than 0, so the parabola opens upward. Next, we plug the values of a, b, and c into the vertex value, negative b over 2a, c minus b squared over 4a, and get the point of the vertex, 4, negative 9. Now the question is, when does the parabola have a y-intersection? The answer is when x equals 0. Here, y equals to 7 when x equals to 0. So we can get the y-intersection 0, 7. The symmetric point of the y-intersection has the same y-coordinate, in this case 7. Its x-coordinate is the double of the x-coordinate of the vertex, that's 8. So we get the symmetric point 8, 7. The last step may seem familiar, because we previously learned the y-coordinate of the parabola's x-intersection equals 0. Plug y equals 0 into the quadratic equation and get x squared minus 8x plus 7 equals 0. It's easy to factor out the left side of the equation with the crossing method, and we get parentheses x minus 1 times parentheses x minus 7 equals 0. So the two roots are x equals 1 and x equals 7, and the x-intersections are 1 and 0 and 7 and 0. Now we can graph the parabola with the 5 points. You might think in some situations when y equals 0, the quadratic function has no roots or that the function has no intersection with the x-axis. How should we graph the parabola in this case? It's a little bit different, but it's not complicated. Let's look at another example together. Y equals x squared minus 4x plus 5. This function can be turned into y equals x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 1. The first three items on the right side are the square of x minus 2, so we can get y equals parentheses x minus 2 squared plus 1. Since parentheses x minus 2 squared is greater than or equal to 0, parentheses x minus 2 squared plus 1 is always larger than 0. That means the function has no intersection with the x-axis. To graph the function, we have to calculate the value of the vertex first. Because a is greater than 0, the function opens upward and the vertex is the minimum value of the function. Apparently, the function has a minimum value if parentheses x minus 2 squared equals 0. That is when x equals 2, the minimum value of y equals 1. So we get the vertex point of the function 2 and 1. Then, as usual, we will plug x equals 0 in the function and get the value of y, which is 5. So the y-intercept is 0 and 5. Now we have to determine the symmetric point of the y-intercept. The x-coordinate of this point is double the x-coordinate of the vertex, and its y-coordinate is the same as the y-coordinate of the y-intersection. So we get the point 4 and 5. We should now find the x-intersection, but there isn't any, so what should we do? It's easy. In this example, the x-coordinate of the vertex point is 2, so we'll just try to determine the 2 points on both sides of the vertex. For example, using x equals 1 and x equals 3. Let's calculate by plugging in x equals 1 into the function. Y equals 1 minus 4 plus 5 equals 2. And we get the point 1 and 2. And then we plug x equals 3 into the function. Y equals 9 minus 12 plus 5 equals 2. And we get the last point, 3 and 2. Now we're done, so you can just graph the function. Next, I will show you how to graph some special forms of quadratic functions, which will be easier. Y equals 3x squared. Here, 3 is greater than 0, so the parabola opens upward. Because b equals 0 and c equals 0, the vertex, the x-intersection, the y-intersection, and its symmetric point are the same point, 0 and 0. So we just need to determine the 4 points, 2 of them on the right and 2 of them on the left. For example, x equals 1, negative 1, 2, and negative 2. When x equals 1 and negative 1, we get y equals 3. When x equals 2 and negative 2, we get y equals 12. So now we just got 5 points easily. The next step is to graph the function. The next example, y equals 3x squared plus 2, opens upward, and because b equals 0, the symmetric line is x equals 0. Y has the minimum value if x equals 0. So the vertex point is 0 and 2. The example is above the x-axis, which means that there are no x-intersections in this case. Besides, the y-intersection 0 and 2 is the same point as the vertex point. So we can take the points whose x-coordinates are 1, negative 1, 2, and negative 2 and get the 4 points, 1 and 5, negative 1 and 5, 2 and 14, negative 2 and 14, and can graph the function. When we graph these two functions in the same coordinate system, we may find that they are very similar. The parabola of y equals 3x squared plus 2 is parallel to the parabola of y equals 3x squared. It just moves 2 upward from the position of y equals 3x squared. It's interesting, isn't it? Okay, I think we've learned enough for today. In the next video, we will learn some more applications of the quadratic function, so please stay tuned. If you have any questions, leave your comments below or email us at question@b-math.com. We will try to answer your questions in a future video, and the most common question will be given priority in our next video. See you next time!